pause. Okay, so that last question, did we get all the answers up for it? Yeah. Okay. Complete the square. So completing the square. And a problem for completing the square, let's say x squared plus 8x minus 15 equals 0. So your steps, try not to look at your notes because this is where you're trying to see if you remember. Does anybody remember the first step in completing the square? What do you think, Kenzie? Yes, we got to get that thing moved. The first step was to move the C. Move C to right side. Okay, so after you do that, now we have x squared plus 8x equals 15. Santana, you remember what to do next? She's remembering, this is where the completing the square comes in. We're going to end up going 8 over 2 and doing what to that? We also are going to need to square it. Right, so that's going to come out to be a 4 squared, which turns out to be a 16. So I'm going to put a little cloud around that 16. What do we do with this 16 that we just did? This is a very random step, but it's what you have to do. Go ahead, Santana. Where? And? All right, we've got to add it to both sides. Add 16 to both sides. So we're going to come over here and go 8, or x squared plus 8x plus 16 equals 15 plus 16. And this side, easy enough, 31. Now what? Nick, do you remember what to do after that? Right here, trinomial, what do you do with it? Yeah, we're going to factor the left side. So we're going to go over here and put our double parentheses so there's no GCF, and there won't be. We'll put our x's down. And what do we put for the 16 part, Courtney? What makes the 16? Yep, 4 and 4. Put our pluses down. Does anybody notice where there's a 4 has already shown up in the problem? This 4 already showed up somewhere. Where was it, Marcus? Right. The thing that's right there is always going to be the number that shows up here. That's going to happen every time. Do you really need it for this problem? No, but if it was decimals or something, it would be helpful to know that's where it's coming from. It's always from that right there. That's where you'll get it from. So now this is the, what do you do now? Bowen, do you remember? So we're going to write the left side with exponents. Do you know how to do that? How do I write that using? Right. Okay, then step 5, what are we going to do to get rid of that 2, Taylor? Square root. Okay, square root. Both sides. So that gets us x plus 4 because that little 2 and this square root zap each other. So somebody's getting a decimal for us, plus or minus what? 5.56. Remember, it's plus or minus. Make sure that plus or minus gets in there. So I'm now going to minus my 4. And what are the 2 problems that we're working? 2 problems. Where are they, James? Well, it's minus 4. Yep. Yep. Those are 2. We have 2 of them. So last but not least here, what is that? 1.56 is one answer. And the other one is, is it negative 9.56? Okay, that timer is going, isn't it? Okay. So with the quadratic, that's okay. I'm just going to talk if anybody will listen. Okay, so with the quadratic formula, negative b plus or minus the square root of squared minus 4ac over 2a. So we're not going to work the whole thing out. I'm just going to ask you to tell me what the a, b's, and c's are for this. What's the a, b, and c? Go. And you plug it all in. Oh, thank you. You do the worksheets. Unpause it. Okay, so we are going to now substitute this A in for our A's, and we're going to substitute this B, which is 8, in for our B's, and we will substitute our negative 15, which is our C, in for our C. So that is going to look like negative 8 plus or minus 8 squared. That's your 8 squared right there, minus 4, and then we'll multiply by 1, because A, to the letter A, that is equal to 1. And then B is not next to C. Be careful. So plug in a negative 15 for your C. Draw your division times 2 with the 1, because it's 2A. Now we need to solve this. You want to focus right here and get your 64. So we get negative 8 plus or minus. That's 64. This is a negative 4 times 1 times 15. If you multiply negative 4 times 1, you're going to get negative 4. This negative 4 times a negative 15 is a positive 60 over 2 times 1, which is 2. So now I got negative 8 plus or minus. This is going to be 124 over 2. So now I got negative 8 plus or minus, and that is a 11.14. Let's round it over 2. And then you have 2 problems, which I am so sorry. I'm going to need to go to the next page and rewrite this. So negative 8. So I got negative 8 plus or minus 11.14 over 2. I have 2 problems. One of them is a plus. See this plus? I'm going to have a plus 11.14 over 2. And then I'm going to have a second problem, this time with a minus. See this minus right here? So I'm going to have negative 8 minus 11.14 over 2. So those are my 2 different problems, 2 different problems. So this is going to get me a negative 11.14 over 2. This one is going to get me a negative 19.14 over 2. And then I need to put that stuff in my calculator. So I got 3.14 divided by 2, 1.57, negative 1.57. And this one is going to get me so this is a negative 9.57. Those are our 2 answers.